All right, obviously, would just I want to start off by saying our thoughts and prayers are with the University of Virginia, that entire university, and in particular the football program, the team. Um, Obviously, everybody involved. There's not a whole lot that words can say, and I'm sure everybody has probably done the same thing. But this community, this football community, obviously, especially us, our thoughts and prayers are with them. This tragedy and all that have been involved in it. And we've got a kid in Juwan Briggs who was a part of that program just two and a half years ago, and still has a lot of really good friends there. Knows a lot of the people that have been involved in that, and you know. So I know it's tough on him as well, and we actually got a chance to sit down and talk to him a little bit about it yesterday, and just make sure he was all good. And it affects all of us, whether we have kids ourselves or everybody within this football community, and everybody that obviously sends kids off to college. That it's a scary thing. So thoughts and prayers are with them and everybody involved. Obviously not easy to move on, but the reality is we do. And last week was a crazy one for us. Great to have a Friday night game when it all is said and done, because you get a nice little break there on Saturday to take a couple deep breaths. But I don't, more than anything, the great thing about Friday night, it started off with the atmosphere and the environment that our student body started it with, and then obviously the rest of the community created. I was a little bit, not that I was worried that it wouldn't be a normal nip at night, but I knew there were some really big games going on Friday night, and that's going to take away from some things at some point in time. But it was amazing to see that it didn't take away from the nip at night and the atmosphere, and it was one of those games that we really needed it too. So I wasn't, I think, the sharpest that we had played all year. Especially when that momentum and energy shifted, we really kind of relied upon that student body and the environment, atmosphere that we were playing in to kind of bring us back and find a way to win a game. So that was a really, really, really great night, and in the sense that we've done it again. We found another way to win a football game, different than maybe some of the other ones, but nonetheless another way to win a football game. If that means return a kick for 100 yards, if that means making another stop on the last play of the game, if that means punting another ball with 11 guys up, and a lot of situations that you practice maybe one time in camp that you don't always have a chance, or even in 6 years here, of ever coming down to those situations and actually do them in a game. We've had more of them this year than I've ever been involved with, but we've executed them and found a way to get it done. So it's tough, but we move on now, and now got to change the whole mindset going on the road, and get our guys back into understanding this is when the playoffs start, and that's just the reality. It's you're in that situation now that every one of these is incredibly critical as you come down the stretch, and there is no playoffs in college football, but for us it started.
You're not going to like this one, but
What's you? So why would you think anything different?
any response to the ECU head coach and quarterback accusing you guys of intentionally injuring a player?
Did I didn't know. Did
Oh, yeah.
Both of them said it?
Oh, yeah. I can pull up the quotes if you'd like.
It's perfectly fine. We don't play them again, but you know what? A game is a game, and you play the game really aggressive. I actually don't even I wish we wouldn't throw kids out of football games. There's times to throw guys out. There are not malicious targeting hits. Their guy was thrown out 2 years ago here for a targeting penalty on an onside kick. It is what it is. I don't think the guy had malicious intent. I don't believe that we had malicious intent. It's a part of the game. It's unfortunate that people would feel that way. I would imagine it's an emotional thing when you say it at that point in time, and I hope it's just an emotional thing, and they don't really believe that about how we play the game and how we teach our guys to play the game.
On the threats play, what do you do in that situation? It's obviously a big play right by the goal line. He's running full speed. You don't want him to get a targeting penalty, but how do you coach? What is he supposed to do in that situation?
Well, we always talk about it. Defenseless players are be hitting what we call the strike zone between the chest and the kneecaps. That's what we call the strike zone. And any receiver catching a ball is a defenseless player. And so we talk it. We kind of coach. It's hard to drill it, but I mean you drill it on bags. You don't hit your own guys in those situations. And we all talk about shoulder-led tackling. I mean we are a shoulder-led tackling team. In particular, I mean, we say it all the time. Hey, we're playing some zone and you get crossers, whatever you do now, you make sure you hit with your shoulder. And he's running as fast as he possibly can. To me, it looks like he is legitimately leading with his shoulder. The reason I don't like guys being thrown out of games, there's time to be thrown out of games. We've had a couple in the past, the UCLA game a couple years ago where we legitimately hit a guy in the head and really, really dumb. But when there's a change of level, when there's a game it's in the process, I don't think those are conscious decisions. It's not a launching thing that I hope and believe that we're going to change the rules like the NFL and not just eject guys unless it's malicious intent. So if it was malicious intent, we would obviously be like, look, this is what we taught. You cannot do this. You must be a shoulder-led tackle. It's the way we teach it. I believe that's what he's attempting to do. It's tough because you guys got to run 37 yards. I think we end up looking at something crazy like that. So it's a bang-bang thing. We continue to teach the way we, teach with the shoulder-led tackle and, staying away from all head between the nipples and the kneecaps, and you can't bat an eye about it. You just got to keep moving on. It's tough for both. I mean, it's not like every time there's a targeting, a guy gets knocked out of the game. It has nothing to do with it. Nobody even knows who the ball's being thrown to. So it's not like you're targeting any particular thing. So it's a part of the game. We all know we're trying to make this game safer and better, and we teach it to be safer and better. And there are still situations where it is a violent football game.
Is it the same approach even after the first one as well? Was that also a bang-bang play, the one that he had at Tulsa, right? He's an aggressive player and a great tackler, but do you try to tell him to find that balance between?
We do it every week. It's not just him. It could have been any other middle-of-the-field safety in that situation. The uniqueness is a lot of middle-of-the-field safeties can't get to the point of attack outside the numbers. You don't even expect the middle-of-the-field safety sometimes to get to the, an inside fade ball outside the numbers. So, I think all those things are different. I think the one in Tulsa, he was a little bit out of control. And when you're out of control and you just try to dive at some point in time, you're putting yourself in a situation. It's the same thing. It wasn't like the ones that I think should always be thrown out of the game is when somebody legitimately launches, when somebody hits somebody that's on the same plane. When the offensive guy's plane changes, I don't think there's really a target. I know we're going to say it is if you hit him in the head, but I don't think those are where the ones should be ejected because you can't ever really know where they're going to be at that point in time. We protect quarterbacks and we all understand that, but I don't know that there's anything we're going to do different. We continue to educate, continue to teach, and make sure our guys understand what defenseless players look like, and hope that those situations don't continue to happen because they're hard on all of us. Momentum of games, energy of games, and like said to me, I don't. No matter who it is, I don't think players should be thrown out of games.
Board to Temple, they're a team that seems to have found some rhythm here offensively. What are you seeing as far as differences that they've kind of found out here of late?
Well, I didn't watch them as much early before they had made the switch at quarterback, but they've done a really, really, really good job. They're very efficient in what they're doing. They've thrown the ball incredibly well. They mix it up. I think that the quarterback's only taken 6 sacks, and he's throwing the ball maybe 40 times a game, and that's over a long period of time. So really, really efficient in what they're doing. I think they got great balance, and for a young guy, he understands the game. He understands where his outlets are and what he needs to do if it's not there. And you can see that. You can see the growth even from game 5 on.
Some guys who are maybe shorter on experience coming into the year, what do you attribute that ability to?
Finding ways to win. To be honest with you, I think it's an expectation. I think one of the bigger differences is, even in year 1 and 2, like guys expect to win. Yes, they prepare and they do all those things, but when it comes down to crunch time, a lot of times it's about an expectation. Who really believes they can get it done? We panic at times and we show immaturity, and a lot of times, and then all of a sudden, in these really critical moments, you see this mature group kind of step up. We give up a 4th and 13 or 4th and 14, and you're like, oh my goodness, here it is. Can we handle this? And then all of a sudden, some way, somehow, maturity steps up, plays are made, and and we finish the ball game. So it's really hard. I know, my dad in particular calls me afterwards, says, I think I'm done. I don't know if I can do this anymore. You're going to kill me. I mean, and you're lucky you're young and your heart can take it. I don't know that I'm young, and I don't know that I can take it. But it is. It's that flows. It's that ups and downs, and it's that, I think more than anything, that expectation that they're going to get it done.
How important has the play of Jaquan Shepard been to this defense as he's grown this year?
He's done a great job. He's been consistent, and I think that, not saying he's the only one, but I think it's one of those spots that, going into the year, I think everybody would have said, okay, what's it going to be like? What's he going to do? How's it going to be? And what's it going to be like when a guy catches the ball for the first time in a long time? What's it going to be like to him? I mean, there's a lot of guys that fill shoes and not just do a good job, but are under pressure and scrutiny, and because they're not quite what somebody else is, and all those things he's done a phenomenal job at handling. He's played really well. He's been very consistent, and I don't think he's ever tried to be, the guy that was there before him. He's truly being who he is and playing the way that he does, and I think he's really grown up.
Omarion filled in for Brian after the targeting call. Just talk about what you saw from him out there. Obviously, he made that key block on the Jaden Thompson touchdown, kick return touchdown. Just talk about what you saw from him out there.
Well, Omarion's played a lot this year. I mean, he's played a lot special teams while he's filled in. He's played some games, not just when, Threats got in trouble or when he got, ejected. He's actually played a lot in some other situations in some other games. So that's what is fortunate for us when, whether a guy gets hurt or, something like happened the other night, that you got a guy that's got some experience, that's played some really critical roles and some time, and has the ability to step in and play. And you can't devalue, the big plays that are done on special teams and the maturity that you gain through playing some of those special units. Just come to practice. You'll realize the pressure and the emphasis on that. So those guys that sometimes maybe that's their role as a younger age as they grow, are a lot more ready than people would believe, to step into not just, well, you don't have a whole lot of experience on it, I know, but they're ready to step into those situations that are high-pressure situations.
You said at the beginning, Luke, that this is when the playoffs start. What did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, we know that our whole objective, we've always wanted to play for championships, and I think that now that you're in a position where it's all or nothing. And I'm not saying that every game isn't like that, but you're just trying to put a little bit more of an emphasis on, what you need to do, and you want to make sure these guys understand that, so that's what we really say. It's not like we're putting a sign up here and say the playoffs begin, but it's just, hey, understand now, we've trained and we've done all these things to get to November and to be in a position where November really matters. Don't forget that November really matters.
It's kind of a tradition in this room last year on Tuesdays to ask you if you'd be watching the college football playoff show on Tuesday night. You guys are now back in that conversation where you might make your debut this season in the college football playoff rankings. I'm trying to figure out a better way to ask than say, hey, are you going to watch? But did you
Do I know that they even do that show?
It's
no.
tonight, yeah.
They do it on Tuesday nights?
Tuesday nights.
If we, same as last year. Really, I don't remember last year. Maybe if you cancel the radio show, then I'll go home and sit and watch the show.
Gotcha. Did you learn anything from last year on the waves of the college football playoff show and wondering where you might be and just how a team handles
since I
that
didn't
kind of
watch it, I probably didn't learn from it. I'm not the sharpest tack in the box. Maybe sometimes, an old D lineman, an old wrestler, but it's really hard to learn from it if you don't actually pay attention to it and watch it. So, to be honest with you, I don't know what I could learn from it that would give me a better chance to lead our guys and our team. Now, watching it and learn from it might give you some more anxieties on, okay, well, we've got to be able to do this. We got to maybe win by this. I don't know. But I try to avoid those things that I don't think are going to give me a chance to be better at what I do. And I think that's one of them. I'm not saying I wouldn't enjoy listening and seeing highlights. And I love college football. I love football. But those things that even you love that sometimes cause you a little bit more anxiety. I talked about it the other day when, I love to watch, your buddies play. The Titans were playing last Sunday night or whatever it was, and I left out of here and started the fourth quarter, and I saw it was a tight game, and I wouldn't turn the game on. Not that I didn't want to watch, not that I didn't want to see, your buddy playing that, but it creates more anxiety for me. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to pick that phone up every few minutes and look at the score, but I'm not going to hang on play after play after play because I'm not sure what it's going to do for me, and I got enough anxiety in my life.
I think you were actually on that show a few times last year on Tuesday nights. Did you block that out too?
Did they taped it earlier? Probably, right?
They must have.
I could. I was Jim. I was with the radio show. These guys. I mean, I can't miss that. Must have been tape delayed.
You've stressed a lot this year, not wanting these guys to compare themselves to last year or anything like that. Do you, in your mind, though, ever compare whether it's teams you had at Ohio State or teams you've had here? Like this year reminds me of that season.
This year reminds me of none. Yes, I do sometimes compare. Because you try to draw upon all of your experiences. And so, yeah, you do. And, just like you compare players and guys and things like that. But it's more so in a situation where you're trying to compare to say, okay, now, how did that work? And what did I do? And what did we do? And how did we handle this? Yeah, you're always kind of drawing from those past experiences. But I would really say that this is very, very, very unique. And I'm not sure I've been in, one that's been any bit similar.
Why is that?
I don't know. Like I said, the way all the different ups and downs, the way different games have ended. Those last punts. I haven't been in a whole bunch of those situations, and I mean the emotional shifts of game. A lot of times you get in a rhythm of a game, you feel it, and things adjust. But like the ups and the downs, I think have just been uniquely different this year. I don't know exactly why, whether it's maturity. It's back and forth. You're down, you're up. You're playing really well. All of a sudden you give up big plays. It's a lot more unknowns that we've had kind of throughout games, not just the year, but in particular in games.
You announced Jaquan as one of the defensive players of the game from Friday night. What did you see from him Friday night, and what have you seen as he's continued to?
The number one thing I think is consistency. I think that he's been very consistent in what he's done, and that's what we asked him to be. I mean, we knew he was going to be, a newer starter, even though he's been here for a while. And hey, as you go and you do this, man, you're going to develop more and more things, but you got to be consistent. I think that's the key at that position in particular. There's just so many shots, so many opportunities that are taken at that spot that you got to have consistency. And, the ups and the downs, probably more than any spot that's got to be consistent. It's that, because if you get in one of those situations where you're not consistent, you lose your emotions. I mean, that snowball grows a lot faster at that position than any other.
Are there parallels to 18 and 19 where you guys won a lot of close games? With 18, you had the...
No, I don't think so. I don't. And a lot of times it's a makeup. A lot of times it's, what an expectation is, because, there was a completely different expectation sometimes in 18 and 19. And I don't mean the outside. I just mean from us in general. And had we been in some of these situations in 18, I don't know if we would have had the same year, just because I don't know. I mean, we created an expectation to win, and we created that, what winning looks like. Without having that right now, I'm not sure it would be the same. So I don't know that there's a whole lot of parallels. You won close games and you found ways to win, but different than we were finding ways to win right now.
Any other questions for Coach? Thank you.
Good. Thanks.
We'll have Trey Tucker, Will Huber in a moment. So, question comes this way, he's already off center to begin with, and now he's talking away from it. So, if you look this way, it's not good. It's like this way.
Was I supposed to go, or was Will supposed to go?
You're supposed to.
I was.
We ready for track? Always. We're good. Questions for track?
All right, we talked to Jaden about it, but take us through from your perspective. You think you're going to catch a kickoff and he just boxes you out and then runs away?
Yeah. So actually, so like all week, we're preparing for that. Like, we kind of knew, like, these past few weeks they've been kicking it, like, kind of all over the place. So, we prepared for it. And actually, like, when I go look on the film, it was in gray area, but I think he did have the right of way to take it, But I couldn't see where I was. I just was going off feel, you know what I mean. And the biggest thing is just making sure you communicate. So I yelled me, and he didn't hear. And I mean, I just kind of remember throwing my hands up, like, all right. And then I run up, and then it just was slow motion. I just saw him around. I'm like, no way. And then he just broke out, and I'm just like watching him run. I'm just watching him, and then I see someone coming. I think it was a kicker. I'm like, man, if the kicker gets him, this is gonna be bad. So I just started running, and he ended up taking it all the way, and I just was in utter belief. It's crazy.
It went on his side though, didn't it? Like, wasn't it on his side of the?
Yeah. So like that's what I'm saying. So like the way it is, it's like I have like my side and like the middle, so like it's kind of like 2-on-1. But like where I was at, I couldn't really feel that. So like if you really look at it on film, like he did kind of have the right of way. But like I said, just make sure you communicate. You know what I mean? And I don't think there's there's no better way for him to take the kick return than take it all the way to the house. So.
Uh, Luke mentioned and Ben mentioned as well that Ben got up in front of the team after that game and acknowledged that he didn't play his sharpest or his best ball. What does that mean for the quarterback to get in front of the team and take ownership of that?
It's tremendous. I mean, he's a great leader, man. I think it's hard, because that guy has a bunch. He has a bunch he has to do. Not just on the football field, off the field as well, with all the stuff that he hears. So, just it just shows how strong he is. And I know everyone in that locker room has his back. You know what I mean? So for him to stand up there and acknowledge that he's not playing his best. That just makes us even more wanting to do our best for him. To give him the best availability when we're out there. So yeah, he's a great guy, a tremendous leader, and I'm excited for him for the rest of the season.
Back to the kick return. I saw you in the end zone afterwards, just laughing hysterically. Like what's going through your mind like after you get to that point? Is it like hitting you like he took that from me, and he actually took it to the house? Because you seem like you were enjoying yourself a bit.
Oh, it was. I said it was like when it first happened. I'm like, bro, like he took the kick return from me. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And when I just got down, I'm like, there's no way. Jaden Thompson, like, all right, I could see like, he's a crazy athlete. But like if we had Tyler back there and Tyler did that, I'd be like, you just kicked it to him and that was the mistake you made. But same with Jaden, what I mean? He was a punt returner for a while, and there was a few times I'm like, he's gonna take a punt return back, and me and Ryan are gonna look at each other and be like, I don't know, man, we might need to keep him back there. But yeah, I just saw it, and when he took it back, I'm just like, no way. Like he took one back before I did this year. I'm like, I think I'm done for the year now. You know what I mean? We might go back out there this Saturday and he might see a new returner. So, kudos to him.
He had another one of those short area quickness. When he broke it, we've seen it a couple times. As a pass catcher, he said he doesn't have the speed that you and Tyler have, so he has to rely on that. Talk about his wiggle a little bit, his ability to in short areas make people miss.
That's Jaden Thompson for you. I mean, and that's not even just like short. Like you could see it like on his releases and stuff. I mean, the dude, he might not strike you as a straight line speed guy, obviously, as he said, but like, the releases that he has and stuff like that is so quick that it gets you off guard. And as soon as he's going, he gets going. So yeah, like he's tremendous with that. And like I really think I've saw it in full effect this year because we always heard about it. He pull up his high school highlights and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, well that doesn't matter. You have to do it in college. And I think when he did that at USF, we kind of like that's the Jaden that we're. And then it's just his past week, he just really showed the world what he's capable of. So yeah.
How important was it in a game where maybe Ben wasn't his sharpest, most accurate for you and Tyler to have big yak plays that went for touchdowns?
It was super important. I think, people get the misconception as we need to take a shot down the field. We need to throw a deep ball down the field. Well, me and Tyler talk about that all the time. Like, personally, like as a receiver, I think it's for us. We like, a quick slant or, inside had a screen and take it to the house. It just shows what you can do. So, it's huge, man. Like I remember, like the play before we tried to hitch and go with Tyler. I mean, he's wide open. He just missed him a little bit, and I could just remember it was 3rd and 5, and I'm like, all year we've repped like screens and stuff like that, and I just know coaches like it's gonna hit, it's gonna hit, it's gonna hit, it's gonna hit one of these games. You know what I mean? We've hit them in practice and then they've been successful. And I don't know, I just had a weird feeling. I'm like, I'm gonna catch this and I'm just gonna run. You know, and I did, and I just saw it, and I'm like, all right, now it's time to put on a little speed display. So that was kind of my thought process. And like, yeah, like we don't need to take a shot down the field. You know, not every time. You know, I mean, we can, but you know, just those little simple things is what can be the difference in the game.
There's a lot on the table for you guys in these next two games. Temple's a team that hasn't had the greatest season, and then you got Tulane in the final where they're ranked and there's a lot on the line, and there'll be senior night for you and others. How do you, as one of the leaders, make sure you don't overlook this Temple team and don't get your mind too ahead of yourself, you know, skipping over?
Well, the scary thing about them is they're like obviously you know they got a new coach and stuff like that and new coaching staff. So the scary thing about them is they're playing their best ball in November, and that's what we pride ourselves on. Make sure we're playing our best ball in November. So I think they're really doing that. It's a really good team over there. I'm excited to play them. You know, I actually know a few people over there, and I know that like Temple's always been I'd say a problem for us. Even before I was here, you know, I mean, I can remember my senior in high school, they were undefeated, and they went over there and played Temple away and lost. You know, what I mean, that was one of the only losses other than UCF that year. But Temple's always a tough place, you know, a tough place to play, and they're always a tough team. So I think everyone's going to be on high alert. You know, obviously knowing what we got next week, but this week is just as important, just because of how they play and who they are. So yeah, everyone's going to make sure that they're focused and have a good week of practice.
Coach has been pushing that "just be us" mantra even back into preseason. As you're getting into this year, do you find it hard to not compare things to last year, maybe the last 2 years?
Sometime. You know, I mean, like the "just be us" thing. It's you know, it's like what he says. Just be us. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think sometimes people find like, oh, the 2021 team. You know what I mean? But like at the same time, like that team was just like we were just being us. You know what I mean? Like that team was amazing. You know, and this team is as well. But I think our biggest thing is just like, you know, like what we're doing now. This just might be who we are. You know, what I mean, last year, you know, we had some games that we, you know, handled business really well, but we also had games that we had close. You know, like we had Tulsa, you know, goal line stand. We didn't play Tulane well. Navy, you know, on the road. So, you know, I think the biggest thing is just understanding that we aren't that team from last year, and we don't need to be. You know what I mean? We're 8-2 where we are now. You know what I mean? I just think we need to understand like what we're doing now is just who we might be, and just understand that and embrace it.
Your head coach was in this room before you came in, and he said, this is when the playoffs start. That was his message about what you guys have in front of you right now. How aware are you guys of the impact of these final couple of games on what you want to get done this year?
Super aware. November is that month for that, you know, and I mean, it's something that we've earned, put ourselves in a position to do. And, you know, I know we're going to take full advantage of it. And the crazy thing is, it's going to be it's going to be tough. You know what I mean? We play 2 games in 11 days, basically. And there's not much off time in that. So, you know, I think everyone's awareness and, you know, we have to have a heightened awareness about what we have to do, and that starts with this week against Temple. I think the biggest thing is, you know, we actually had a few days off after this game, and, you know, just making sure that our mind's right for practice this week. You know, we'll have our normal practice schedule, normal schedule for everything. So just making sure we go up there and handle business because, like I said, it's going to be a really good team. You know what I mean? And, yeah, so go handle our business and then worry about the next one.
Does it feel like this offense is close to getting in sync? Because it seems just miss a deep shot by a yard, or you know, there's a drop on a key third down, or it seems like the plays have been there to be made. Does it feel like you guys are close to finding that rhythm again?
Oh, definitely. You know, it always stings when you come back and you watch film on like a Sunday. You know, obviously after the game, you see like how close one plays. You know how close one play is for a touchdown. Like the play before I scored, Tyler should have went for, I don't know, however long that was, 55-yard touchdown because we didn't complete. So I mean, yeah, we're this close. You know, we all got to be on the same page, and you know, it's kind of been something throughout the season that we're still trying to, you know, hammer on. And you know, I think this week in particular, you know, we'll kind of, you know, just kind of get back to our basics. You know, based off what they do, you know, we're not going to put in a bunch of exotic stuff. We never really do, but it's, you know, it's just when you have a defense and how they play and, you know, stuff like that, it just kind of makes it all hairy about what you want to do. But, yeah, I'm excited. about that. And yeah, we're definitely trying to get on the same page for sure.
College football playoff reveal show. You guys seem to be back in that conversation for the first time this season. How curious will you be to see where you guys are if you are in the top 25?
Honestly, I I can't recall really looking at the rankings that much this year. So honestly, I have no idea. I honestly didn't even. I kind of forgot that was on today. So yeah, I mean, I think our biggest thing is winning football games. So that's the main thing we'll do. I mean, it's obviously cool to be acknowledged in that to, everything we get we want to earn. So if that's where we're gonna be tonight, it's pretty cool. But I won't put too much stock in it. And if we aren't, then because like I said, we still have a game this week, and that's what we're gonna take care of.
Will, what is it about this defense that's been able to bend but not break in most of these critical situations this year?
I think ultimately we just find a way to get it done. I think in the past we've maybe been a more dominant defense, you can say, but I think ultimately, like those teams of the past, we find a way to get the job done in most circumstances. And I think that just goes back to what we're trained to do. You know, we fight, we're gritty, we get after it until the final whistle, and I think in a lot of situations it's very good for us.
Coach talked about maybe the difference between this season and 18-19 is the expectations. Like, comes down to the end of a game, tight game, you guys expect to win.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, you were part of all of those teams. So do you agree with that? Do you see that maybe difference between this year's crew and when you guys were just first starting out?
No, absolutely. I think as my old self, I've seen the evolution of a lot of these Cincinnati teams under Coach Fick, and I think that is probably one of the biggest differences in those teams versus the teams now. It's that no matter what situation we're in, there's no panic on the sideline. You never see guys get out of themselves because of the score. Because I think deep down we've seen time and time again that if we do what we need to do, regardless of the situation, we will play ourselves back into the game. And I think that's just who we are now. And I think it's been awesome to be a part of.
Coach Fick spoke a lot about the penalties on Friday night, particularly the targeting. As a defense and as one of the leaders of that defense, how much are you like, all right, guys, we have to shore this up and knock out those penalties to not make our lives harder out there?
Yeah, I mean it's something that we just can't do, and especially when we're playing good teams, it's something that will bite us in the butt. It didn't against ECU, but it will. And I mean, if we want to get to where we're going, we can't let that affect what we do. We have to stay within ourselves and play with each other, because a lot of the penalties, they're just completely unnecessary. And that's on me as one of the leaders on this defense is just bring the guys in and just remind them that that stuff is all extra. It doesn't have to do with what we want to do, and so I think that's something that we got to address as a team. And then I got to take full responsibility for those things.
You seen with some of the injuries up front on the defensive line, does that put any more pressure or emphasis on the linebacking crew?
I don't think so. I think the same expectation is held with the linebackers. I think the guy with the injuries that we may have had, I think the guys that have stepped up and done an incredible job. So it's not like we're playing with our hands tied behind our back. We still have an expectation to go out and make plays and be the leaders of the defense at the linebacker level, and I think it really hasn't changed. I think guys up front have done an absolutely incredible job, and without them we wouldn't be having the season we are.
Temple has really started to gain momentum offensively after making the switch to E.J. Warner at quarterback. Just talk about what you've been able to see from him on film now that you head into game week.
Yeah, he's a young guy. Haven't seen a whole lot yet. We're still getting into that preparation. But he, from what we can tell, he's a baller. He throws that thing around. He's confident in what he does. And he's led an offense to over 500 yards of offense in the last 2 weeks. So they're very capable in what they do. But ultimately it comes on what we need to do and how we prepare.
Coach Fickell was in the room about a half hour ago, and he said that this is when the playoffs start. That's obviously a message he gave to us. I'm sure he said it to you guys as well. How aware are you of the urgency of what you guys have to accomplish here the next couple of weeks?
I mean, I think it's very prevalent in what we're doing. November is for contenders, and we're in a spot now that we are capable of doing everything that we set out to do this year. So I don't know if the urgency is even higher. I think we're still going about the business the way we've done it in the past. But I think it's in the back of their head that we have two weeks left in the regular season. So the message to us was like, what are you willing to do for 2 weeks? Because in 2 weeks, if we do what we need to do, we're gonna have a chance to achieve our goal.
Do you find yourself taking stock of last nip at night? You have your actual real senior night coming up in a couple weeks. Are you thinking about that, or are you trying to avoid thinking about it?
I'm trying to avoid thinking about it, but ultimately it's a very human, feeling. Walking off, Nippert on Friday was kind of a surreal feeling. It's like, man, like walking out, I kind of took stock in it because I always call my parents before the game, and my dad always reminds me kind of have fun. His big thing is like have fun and stay in the moment. Don't let things get too big. And his message to me was like take stock of when you walk out, because that's a feeling that you can chase your whole life and never can get it back. But it is something that I think about, but it doesn't really affect what I do day to day.
Along those lines, you have 2 really big games and a lot at stake here. There's a lot going on in that last week. That'll be your last game at Nippert and your senior night. And how do you make sure that you and others aren't looking ahead to that Tulane game and are locked in on this Temple game?
Yeah, it's tough, but ultimately we know that to get to where we want to do, we have to take care of this week first. Temple has been a tough opponent the last couple of years, and I think they're picking up steam. So we have to recognize that in order to do what we need to do, we have to take care of business this week.
As a senior, is there a little bit of stress on this home win streak when you guys play at Nippert to not let down the guys that got you here?
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to be the guy that lets that streak go, but it's not something that you go into the week thinking like I'm not gonna lose this streak, because no one goes into a game thinking about not trying to lose. We go into every game expecting to win, and so it's just I guess a byproduct of that. It's not something that we really think about too much. But been blessed, lucky, been good enough to say that we haven't had to deal with that, and I don't expect that we will this year.
Doesn't cross your mind on when they convert a 4th and 13 and a 2-point game in the fourth quarter, like, you better buckle up here?
I mean, yeah, in those circumstances, in the game, it's we better buckle up, but it's never never about the streak or about anything else. It's about that specific game. But when you walk off, you're like, man, I'm glad we pulled that one out for sure.
Any other questions for Will? Thank you, sir.
Yep. Thank you, guys.